Thank you for listening to Everything's Messy podcast. We appreciate your interest in health and wellness. However, it is important to note that the content provided in this podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. The information shared here is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. The hosts and guests featured on Everything's Messy podcast are not licensed healthcare professionals, and the discussions within the episode should not be considered as personalized medical guidance. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified health provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard on this podcast. If you have a medical emergency, call your doctor or 911 immediately. Reliance on any information provided by Everything's Messy podcast or its guests is solely at your own risk. This podcast may discuss general health topics, lifestyle choices, and wellness trends, but these discussions should not be interpreted as individualized medical recommendations. Every individual's health needs are unique, and what works for one person may not be suitable for another. We encourage you to consult with a healthcare professional before making any significant changes to your diet, exercise routine, or health practices. Everything's Messy podcast and its hosts are not responsible for any actions taken based on the information provided during the podcast. Remember, your health is a personal matter, and professional medical advice is essential for making informed decisions about your well-being. Thank you for listening to Everything's Messy podcast. Everything's Messy podcast brought to you by Dreamweaver Media. So, incredible company. I'm so excited that I've had the chance to work with this company. Let me tell you, if you are looking to level up your podcast, level up your business, anything that you need to get very clear and laser focused with your goals for your company, you need to reach out to Dreamweaver Media. They have a strategy session report that they will do for you. And what that will do is you will discover your dream audience persona, define your business's why, craft a brand identity that speaks directly to your target audience, identify your marketing goals, and create a custom plan and receive a detailed visual shoot plan that brings everything to life. Let me tell you, this company is amazing. So reach out to dreamweavermedia.co. That's dreamweavermedia.co. Check out their website for more information. Hey there, it's Sarah Wilson, and welcome to Everything's Messy podcast. Yep, you heard it right. Everything is messy because, well, it is. But here's the thing, in the mess, there's strength waiting to be found, and that's what we're all about here. My mission? To break the silence around chronic illness and build a community that's supportive, understanding, and downright empowering. So if you're ready to navigate the chaos, buck the conventional medical system, and embrace authentic healing, you're in the right place. We're going to tackle the big questions like how to balance it all, where the family fits into the messy equation, and everything in between. This is your messy space, a place where we're not afraid to get real, have those important conversations, and maybe even share a few laughs along the way. I'll be sitting down with incredible people, each with their unique message to explore their stories, experiences, and the lessons they've learned in the chaos. From unconventional healing methods to finding strength you never knew you had, we're covering it all. So grab a seat, get comfy, and let's dive into the messy. Because here at the Everything's Messy podcast, we're turning chaos into strength. Together, we're going to embrace the mess. Are you ready? Let's get messy. Hey, messy people. I am back. I'm so excited to be here with you today. I hope you guys enjoyed the last couple of guests that I had. They were so much fun. I really enjoyed Mike, who just had an incredible story. And then talking with Mindy and learning about vibrations, I just thought that was really, really cool. So back here today, we are underway into March. Spring is around the corner. Kind of excited to have the flowers and the warmer temperatures. I mean, I live in SoCal, so I can't really complain too much, but I want that warmth. I'm really ready for that warmth. Of course, talk to me in the summer when it's over 100 degrees, but for now, I'm going to stick to that. I really want the warmth. This episode is going to be fairly short, but I've had a couple of emails from people asking me about what do I use for this? What do I use for that? And mind you, again, I don't get any sponsorship money. I just really like to try out products, what works for me, what doesn't work for me, and the different things that I use them for. So I'm just going to go down the line and we're going to talk about that. So let's start with, I had made a post this past week about boron, and I got some funny comments or some emails about it. They asked me, well, is it borax? So borax is the laundry detergent, but it does have boron in it. I am absolutely under no circumstances advising or suggesting that you go take borax. Not at all. It is a detergent. It is made into a detergent. But boron is a trace mineral that can help with a lot of things. And my post lists several different things that it helped with. One of them, interestingly enough, being candida. If you struggle with having overgrowth of candida or those kinds of issues, it can actually help you with the overgrowth. So I thought that was interesting. And I got a lot of posts that said, they hadn't really ever heard of it or thought, known about it. And I hadn't either. And I read this really interesting article just about all the things that it does. And again, not the detergent, but it has some really good things. One of the things it's supposed to do is if you've had a big dental appointment, if you had a lot of extra fluoride, it actually detoxes the fluoride out of your body, which I thought was really interesting. I know there's a big controversy on fluoride being added to the water and how it's basically a poison. And I just not going to go down the controversy route of it, but I will say that I have read several convincing articles suggesting that maybe fluoride isn't the best. I know there's a big different pros and cons on each, but I think there are different ways that we can clean our teeth. We can remineralize our teeth, and I don't think we need the fluoride to do it. I know probably any dentists that are listening are probably throwing stuff at the radio as we speak or whatever you're listening to on the podcast, but it is something I have read a lot about. I encourage you to do your own research about it, but if you are trying to detox from fluoride, boron is a good way to do that. So the other thing is that it raises the pH level in your body. A lot of people think if they drink a lot of alkaline water, that will do it, but without an agent to actually activate the alkaline water, it won't, what do they say? It won't raise to the level that it's supposed to, whereas boron will help you do that. Interestingly enough, if you suffer from arthritis or joint pain or anything like that, it is also supposed to help relieve arthritis symptoms. Hormone balance. Hello, where are the people that I am struggling with right now? The perimenopause women, the menopause women, where are you guys at? It's supposed to help with hormone balance. Now, I am going to start taking, I haven't started it yet. I'm going to start taking it. I hope to report back that this is the miracle we've all been hoping for. It doesn't have a lot of research as to exactly how it helps the hormone balance, but I'm thinking something to do maybe with better sleep, if it is helping the joints. I'm not exactly sure, but I am very curious to find out. It can decalcify the pineal gland, if there's anybody out there that needs to do that. Okay, so the next one, and I really want to get into this. So let's talk about vitamin D, right? Vitamin D, obviously, the best source to get it from is naturally from the sun. The problem with it is sometimes our body isn't ready to receive it or absorb it, okay? If you have to take it as a supplement, which is fine, you actually need to take it with magnesium to activate the vitamin D. Otherwise, a lot of it is just being flushed out of the body. Interestingly enough, on top of magnesium, a trace mineral, boron actually really helps activate the agents to absorb all of that great supplement benefit from vitamin D. So really something to look into. Again, I'm going to start taking it. I will report back, but I think that's very interesting. And then again, I had mentioned the candida overgrowth. So that is, I'm going to start doing that. Again, I will report back. I'd really like to hear anybody's thoughts that have taken it, what their experience was. I'm getting a lot of feedback that a lot of people didn't even know what it was. I didn't either. So I'm very curious to see where this rabbit hole leads, as I am all about the rabbit holes. So we will report back with that. The next thing, so any of you that have listened to the podcast for a while, you know that I'm a type 1 diabetic on an insulin pump. One of the things that I've been struggling with, especially with this journey that I'm on of health and lifting weights and things like that, it's, not all the time, and I'm getting a lot better, but sometimes, I want a cookie or I want a chip, right? I'm just human. And sometimes I think, oh my gosh, I had such a hard work out this morning. I can absolutely have that chip or that cookie, which we know that I can't. And so the way that I read, it was on JDRF website, which I really love, the Juvenile Diabetes Research Foundation. They do a lot of good work for type 1 diabetics, which is known as juvenile diabetes. One of the things that I had read that I thought was very, very interesting, especially being as young as I was when I was diagnosed, being a teenager, non-compliant, non-listening, and stubborn, you name it, I had it. But the way that I had read this article, it was really presented in such a great way that made me stop and think, okay? So there's a lot of ailments out there that, sensitivities that you might be intolerant to, things like that. But this stuck out at me, basically said, having diabetes is having a carbohydrate intolerance, meaning we can't tolerate the carbohydrates or we have really bad symptoms, side effects, things that come up. And not that I would have listened back when I was 15, but just having that sentence the way that it was said made me process any carbohydrate that I'm putting in my body, I'm going to have an adverse reaction to. Now, fortunately, with medicine, I get to counteract that adverse reaction, but it was, how do I put this? It was very, I was able to process down deep that my body just can't tolerate carbohydrates. And I think that helped me as I go through my weight loss journey and my, getting stronger journey, my weightlifting journey. That helped me to see I'm not being punished because I can't have that chip or that cookie, because that's how maybe I would have looked at it in the past. Or I would have been defiant, been like, oh, I'm having it anyway. I'm now able to say, well, I can, sure, go ahead, take 9 units of insulin at one time to counteract what you know is coming, or accept that your body just can't process the carbohydrate and you're doing more harm to your body than you are good. And if you have an influx, copious amounts, all the junk in the world, it's really going to do damage to your body. And that is what literally hit me on the head of all the years of being non-compliant or not caring or just not knowing, being uneducated and thinking, well, it's okay. I can have that piece of pizza. I just have to bolus more. And again, there's a time and a place and everything in balance. You can have that piece of pizza, as long as I think I've said it before, 80 to 85% of the time, as long as you're doing the very best that you can, you're going to have to live life. You need to be able to experience the other things. But I was the opposite. It was 80, 85%. I was eating whatever I wanted, and maybe 15, 10% of the time I was doing what I was supposed to. And I have since reversed that. And those of you that struggle like I did, it helped me process, it's like anybody that has a gluten sensitivity, right? You don't have the bread because if you have the bread, you're going to have, gastrointestinal issues, you're going to, get puffy or have a headache, same kind of thing. And you're able to avoid that gluten so you don't have those symptoms. It's the same kind of thing if you equate that to diabetic having carbohydrate intolerance. You're going to have issues. It may not appear right away, although I can tell you there has been many times where I let my sugar get out of control. It was way too high, and I had a total hangover effect the next day. Nausea, headache, just sluggish feeling. And, maybe if I was smart or listening to things, and maybe I'm not, it would have processed to me, your body cannot tolerate that. For those of you that are allergic to peanuts or nuts in general, you don't have the nuts because you could have a life-threatening adverse reaction to it. Now, maybe mine isn't life-threatening right off the bat, but an accumulation and a long time of allowing myself to indulge is going to have, potentially life-threatening adverse reactions. And hence the heart attack. So it's just interesting now that I'm really seeking the knowledge. I'm really seeking my brain to process, trying to up level and get to that better place and not feel like I'm being punished, which I was never a victim. I didn't feel like I was being punished, but I definitely was on the guilt wagon every time. It would be like, oh, I'm going to have this cookie. You can't tell me I can't have this cookie. And then I'd have the cookie, and then I'd have the high blood sugar, and then I would feel so guilty how can I do this to myself? What was I like? Just this awful, vicious cycle that I'm totally off now. I mean, who wants to do that? And I think that's probably with any vice or addiction, if you will. I certainly am not going to equate my carbohydrate love for any addiction, but I think it sort of has the same mentality of, you can't tell me, I'm going to do what I want, and, damn, the consequences be damned. And that caught up to me, and it was not good. So, and, I think too, just the lack of education. I'm learning so much about, things that I should have known, things that I should have done, and just becoming my own advocate. And we've talked about this before, but it's just so important. So, okay, on to other things. I think I've talked about the castor oil. I do want to report I had applied castor oil on my eyelids. I had these like floaters, if you will, in my eyes. And I had read on about castor oil that it can help with eye sensitivity or things like that. So I rubbed a little bit of the oil on the top of my eyelids before I went to bed. Woke up the next morning, no floaters. Now, could it be a coincidence? Sure. If you're like me and don't believe in coincidences, there you go. I'd like to think that something in the castor oil did something. I'm not saying it's going to, cure any eye ailment that you might have, but I will say I don't have the floaters anymore. They haven't come back. Don't know why. It could be a fluke. Have no idea, but it's very interesting to me. I have used the castor oil with a pack that I have placed on my stomach, and it's supposed to do like a liver detox, skin detox. I've placed it on my thyroid. I don't know if I've had a specific benefit to either one of those. I do know, I do notice that my sleep is so much more deep when I do place these packs, because you're supposed to do it when you go to bed. And it just has this soothing, calming effect, and it's just a very restful sleep, and I do not feel tired in the morning. So that's an interesting thing to note. And again, that's castor oil. I'd love to hear anybody that has used castor oil as a detox or used it on your skin, or how have you done that? I really want to know. So shoot me an email about that, everythingsmessy@gmail.com. The last thing, or not the last thing, one of the other things that I wanted to mention, beef tallow. I know that's all the rage. I am totally jumping on this bandwagon, though. I have seen it help my dry skin, my lips, just like chapstick. It has been incredible. Don't care which brand you use. Don't care if you render it from the cow yourself. Beef tallow is the most bioavailable thing you can do for your skin, and it is amazing. Just incredibly amazing. When my dad was out here to visit, he put some on his ears, I think maybe his hands, and he had just mentioned that it didn't itch. That's if you are prone to itchy skin or dry skin, and that takes it away, and there was no chemicals because it's beef tallow and the most bioavailable thing you can have. Why not try it? Why not try it? It's amazing. Yes, some people cook with it. That's fine. I've cooked with it before. It's a little too greasy for me when I cook. When I put it on my skin, I love it. So there's that for beef tallow. There's all these wonderful, amazing natural remedies out there that is so good for us. And it doesn't cause any side effects or, symptoms that will make it worse than it was to start with. And I'm just really, really appreciating it, trying to learn more about it, and I'm loving it. So the other thing that I'm absolutely loving, now I've talked about this before, but if you are able to eat the liver, I think that's amazing. I dabbled in it a little bit, eating the liver, cooking the liver. If you're not used to cooking the liver, if you don't know what it's going to, it's kind of like this mush, but then it becomes hard, and it's not very tasty. It is the best for you, but it's not very tasty. But if you can get it in other ways, I've talked about forces of nature, the ancestral blend that you can get in venison, that you can get in bison. And it has already the liver, the spleen, and the heart all mixed in there already. You cook it up as hamburger meat, and you can't tell the difference, and it's delicious. So good for you. If that's a little too pricey, which we all know, groceries reported 33% higher than they were 3 years ago. Incredible. But so if you can't afford it, I totally get it. The other way is definitely supplements, and I do supplement with taking liver. I take bovine liver, and I take it with a supplement of selenium for my thyroid. And again, I haven't had my labs checked in a while. I'm due for that next month. But I will tell you, it makes me have more energy. I don't seem to be as sluggish as I usually am. And I just can report an overall sense of just feeling better. Now, does that have anything to do with the liver? I think so, but could it be in combination of working out and eating better? Sure. But I think there's just so much to be said about eating liver if you can, whether supplement, food, otherwise. And again, if you can't stomach the actual eating the liver, I understand. My mom has a big that's like a big block no. She's not going to eat the liver. She was force-fed liver and onions as a kid. She's not going to go down that road. And I get it. And that's a lot of you are, and that's fine. And again, it is really hard to stomach in that form. But the ancestral blend, and if you can get it in supplement form, I do highly recommend. Very, very much. It's really, really good for you. I I mean, I think I've said this before. I cook it and my kids eat it and they don't know that they're eating liver and heart and spleen. So if I can, and my kids, please understand, my kids are the most pickiest eaters, not by choice. They have some sensitivity and challenges in that area. And so, I've been dealing many, many years with very, very picky children. But the fact that they can eat this because, again, it just tastes like hamburger beef and they have no idea because I'm not going to let the secret out. But it's amazing. It really is. So forces of nature, ancestral blend, either venison or bison. Again, I get no monies for this. I am just telling you what I like and how I use it. Okay, and so this last week, my middle child, she was ill. She had gone to her first middle school dance and it was so awesome. And but it was like a hotbed for just all these kids and piled into one room, and everybody got sick. I think I talked to one of the moms and her kid got strep, and then another one had the flu. I mean, it was just, a hotbed for germs. So my daughter, and for my daughter, knock on wood, it was great. It was a cold, right? There wasn't much more than that. But I had made her take basically 2 to 3 tablespoons of fresh squeezed lemon, throw some salt and pepper in it, and basically just have her shoot it like a shot. And it didn't cure the cold, but I definitely think it shortened it or made it not as severe. And some of the things that I know about lemons is they are antiviral, which is great. You can go to the doctor all you want. If you don't have something bacterial for antibiotics use and you just have something viral, antibiotics aren't going to help. But there are natural things out there to help with the viral. So lemons, big antiviral. So if she was going to, again, do I know this for certain? No, I don't. It's something that we did. And I'd like to think that it was because of the lemons, because it wasn't as strong as maybe it could be, or she has the best immunity in the world. And we're just going to, hope that that's what it is. But I definitely believe in the lemons. The other thing, I know my sister, she swears by eating a clove of garlic. If you feel like you've got that scratchy throat coming on, if you have that headache, not just, you're just starting to feeling run down, she swears eating a clove of garlic, again, may not cure it, but certainly might lessen it or take it down a notch from extreme. And these are all things that we mostly have at our fingertips. So I think these are worth trying. I think the remedies, can help. Again, not a doctor, not advocating for it. I am just very interested in trying natural homeopathic things that doesn't have me reaching for the NyQuil, that doesn't have me reaching for the Benadryl. I want to do very almost natural thing. Now, is there a place for that? Absolutely. Have I taken that before? 100%. But I am trying to just do better with what might be available. Now, full disclosure, and no offense to anybody out there who uses it a lot, I did have a lot of doTERRA oil before. And I honestly, for me, I know the On Guard, there was a lot of belief in that. I think we took it a couple of times. Again, it never prevented, but maybe it lessened. I'm just not sure anymore that we can trust the source of where that oil is coming from. And for somebody who's trying to get away from seed oils or oils in general, it's just not where I go anymore. But I know a lot of people believe in that, and that's great if it's working for you. I'm trying to find more medicinal things that I can actually see, you know, I can look up lemons and see they are antiviral and things like that. And again, I know there's a whole doTERRA oil book out there for things that you can cure with. I'm not going against that. I'm just saying for me, I'm choosing to go away from the oils and just a little more medicinal things. So lots of opinion out there about that, and that's fine. I don't wish to get into a tussle with anybody doing the doTERRA. It's just my opinion. And again, I hope no matter what you're out there doing, you are looking for a more natural homeopathic way to deal with illness or anything else. Like we talked about boron earlier in this episode, just knowing that it could help with arthritis, joint pain, that's pretty amazing. And I think it goes to show that maybe we are deficient in these trace minerals because our soil is just not the best. We used to have very rich nutrient soil, and it's just it's not like that anymore. And I think a lot of different places have tried to regenerate the soil, and some have been successful. Again, the meat that I mentioned, the Forces of Nature regenerative meat, their farming practices are regenerative, and they're helping the soil become better, and that's what they're feeding their bison and their venison, and that's great. But I think a lot of us who need those trace minerals, we're in the suburbs or the city, and we're not have access to that good soil to get that out of the ground. We need supplementation. And I think magnesium, manganese, selenium, boron, all of these things, I think definitely. Now, could you over supplement? I guess. I mean, we won't know unless you test everything that you're deficient in, and that can be pretty expensive. But I think it's just one of those things where you try it, see, if you see a benefit, you stick to it. If you don't, you move on. But I think it's going to take some time. When I start this boron, I think one of the things I read about it, it was at least 6 to 8 weeks. So we'll see how I feel after that. Again, I don't have a starting level. I don't know if that's how I'm going to be able to determine that. I'm just going to go by how I feel, and we'll see. So anyway, I hope that some of this was helpful to you. I hope that you will continue on your path of finding natural remedies. Again, I would love to hear all of the natural stuff. I'd love to hear your messy stories. Email me everythingsmessy@gmail.com. You can find me on Instagram at Everything's Messy Podcast, X, which was Twitter, at Everything's Mess, and just reach out. Let me know what's going on. I'd love to find new guests for the show. Anybody that has a messy story, I'd be happy to interview. And I hope you all, if you were in a state that you needed to vote this week, I hope you went out and voted. And thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for listening to Everything's Messy Podcast. Shout out to all of the people everywhere that are listening. I'm so grateful that you listen to this podcast. I am a one-woman show, and I really appreciate any feedback and anything that you would like to contribute. It is most welcome and very well received. And I appreciate all of you, and keep it messy. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for listening to Everything's Messy Podcast. If you don't mind, if you'd head on over to wherever you listen to your podcast at and subscribe, maybe leave me a review. I would totally appreciate that. If you'd like to be considered to be a guest on our podcast, please reach out to me at everythingsmessy@gmail.com. You can also find me on social media at Everything's Messy Podcast on Instagram. I'm also on X, which was Twitter, at Everything's Mess, and Facebook at Everything's Messy Podcast. Once again, I'd love to hear from you in any capacity and anything that you'd like to share with me. Thanks again for listening.